talked about this on the first, I think 824, right? Right. So we talk about the dollar pretty much being the impetus for a lot of things holding and pushing up. Anyway, so we're kind of here where we are now. Let's just kind of get into this. Oh, excuse me, one second. And then let's just kind of get into Bitcoin. Anyway, I think we're still going to drop. Seems more likely. So we'll show it this way. I guess we'll just show here. Still seems the same thing. Still seems pretty likely we're going to drop. Only so much has changed. We started under. We try to push up. Maybe at most it came up to here. If we start up here on Monday, maybe we can push up more. But everything that it's done so far, this isn't a bearish position. This could have a nice reversal here. Let's say if we start here possibly on Sunday night for the dollar, I could see this pushing up from this position. But unless it starts up here, I don't see it happening. And to the point I'm kind of trying to make there is it only opens on Sunday night. So where it is right now for Bitcoin seems like it's not like an SOS, but we'll kind of get into there. Long story short, I still think it's going to push down. I think it has a high chance of pushing down towards a target that could push stuff up a little bit more. But Bitcoin has its own problems. So I talked about this yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't remember what it was. I think it was 2 days ago. But I talked about how I didn't want to see Bitcoin really push up from here. I wanted to see this push back down, and then we could have some consolidation in this area and then push up. So we've already extended all the way up. We can see here, this is like 12,470. So we have a possible double top with another lower high here. So that's kind of an issue. If we can break above this, it's possible we can come and challenge this, but this is going to be pretty tough. These lines were here when we first came down, and as we can just see, pretty like so. We'll just look at this as the day time frame. This is the week. Where'd they come from? This is where the week came from. It's where it would have hit it on that day time frame, or on that time frame on the shift pitchfork. So we can just see these are all from these respective dates. This is all from June 13th, and it's held pretty well. They've done fairly well of holding up as pretty good areas. So I just kind of want to say that, add a little bit more validity to these instead of just saying, okay, these are just kind of random lines. So getting above this is going to be a little, I would imagine it's going to be a lot more difficult to get above this. I talked about January 1st. So if I was to trade Bitcoin, this is where I would have gotten into it. And then I would have taken a little bit of profit here. And then a little bit. Well, yeah, I mean, if reasonably, you take a little bit of profit here, you take a little bit here. And then pretty much the bulk, almost everything is here. And then look to reposition possibly up top. From a trading perspective as opposed to investing perspective, because we can just see that there's a huge gap right here for this to all push up. The week 200 we can see right here, and this kind of gets into why I didn't want to see it push up too much. I wanted to see it sit in this range. This is like where I was saying it, and I wanted to see it start the new week here and then push up. So we're not going to have that anymore. It's not possible. The implications of this pushing back and turning around could be pretty bearish in a sense. For this to move up, I would generally think it more likely that we'd have some sort of cupping motion or something that comes back down and then proceeds to push up afterwards. So we'll see. It's possible. How do I put it? I think it's possible with the dollar where it is. It still seems that it's a lot, in my opinion, a lot more likely to push down than to just reverse and push up. Maybe we see a week where it comes back up to this area on like a week time frame. I could definitely see something like that, and then it proceeds to move back down. Let's say we do start above that 102.36 area. It pushes back up, and then we come back down. That would make a lot of sense to me also, and maybe that would kind of coexist with Bitcoin pushing down to this area, finding a little bit of support, and pushing back up. The big issue is not like a huge issue, but one of the things I don't like so much is it seems like if it does move up, it's gonna have to be a super quick movement instead of. So if we look at some sort of kind of equal representation on the right side as we did on the left, we have this and then this, but then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up, right? 8 weeks, then 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So it's almost like a month. So it's hard. It's gonna be. That's one thing I don't like is just the idea of it sitting here for a month seems kind of weird. Maybe it would be a pretty good time for alts. We'll see. I don't think that is a guess that I could really make. But anyway, these levels right now, it's 20,847. It's our 20,850, 21,630, and pretty much 22,400. 22,315 isn't really as important. I mean, they're both important, but really like 22.4K. So that's pretty much that. I don't know if there's too much else to really say about it right now. This definitely could keep pushing up. It could definitely get a spike after it beats 21,000, I think 740 right here. Um, or 21,470. So maybe put an alert there and just see. I think it's going to have a lot of trouble here. If another day, I could definitely see this turning around in a somewhat violent way. I can see it going both ways, but I expect it to try to move back down more likely than push back up. We're not going to have any activity until Sunday from the dollar, and if it starts above that 102.36 spot, then it could encourage us to push down a little bit more. From a bullish perspective, I'd also like to see this come down. I don't think there's anything inherently weak about this coming down. I think this is a lot stronger if it comes down. Uh, as opposed, so obviously breaking and beating this is the best thing this could probably do right now. Sitting here is not. As opposed to sitting here for another day or two, I think that's much worse than this coming down to any of these areas down here. And then finding a little bit of support. It's hard to see this doing something like this, and then that's kind of weird and hard to see and hard to expect. I'd more expect something to come here and then bounce, and then maybe you treat it for a lower high again, and then have it come back down from there. But it doesn't make a lot of sense for it to just go down, turn around, go down, go down, go down, go down. Now, the longer it sits up here, I could see that. Um, but it hasn't even been a whole day that it's been up here, or a whole day candle. It's only been one candle that it's been up here. So kind of is what it is. Anyway, I don't think there's really too much to expand on. I guess we could mention it's kind of nice with what it's done here on the 12 hour. That's kind of cool, right? I guess for what it is. We have the same thing. Maybe we can see a 12-hour start above 21,000. That would be nice also as well. Maybe that's a nice sign. That's going to be another. I don't remember if it's 7 or 8 right now. I think it's 8 o'clock, but that's going to be another 12 hours, another 9 hours. So that's kind of a long time from now. So that's another possibility also as well. Maybe that's something to look forward to, or something to look for. Let's see, anything on the other averages? Nothing too crazy. I mean, nothing that has anything to do with where it is right now. So, I think actually there was something for it to fall back down again. I think we are under the 5. I guess we're under the 15 now in a kind of ugly way. I was looking at this a little bit earlier around 8:45 to 9 o'clock. I was interested in seeing what was going to happen kind of like around here. It's not in a horrible spot, but it's really sketchy. If they can, if the, I don't want to say bears, but because you could be a bull and still take profit. You're not really like a bear per se. You're just kind of taking profits, which is why I'm like still sketched by the spot. But if people want to keep shorting or taking profits at this spot, if this kind of trends down to here, I think it's more likely that we'll break under, and this would be a pretty sketchy time. So we'll see maybe around 1 o'clock Eastern what it looks like there. But this could be pretty sketchy. Now, if it can just maintain this area and push here again, I think it has a pretty decent chance of trying to push up. I think it's more bearish than it is bullish, though. When I look at the 15, there's hope, but it's just sketchier. We can see on the 5 why it's so sketchy. We finally fall through, we drop down, we return to it, and then we get pushed right back down again. So it's the 5 definitely looks pretty bad. The 15 looks worse and it looks better, but I don't think it's necessarily one way or the other. I definitely think this looks worse and it looks better. Um, but it's one of those things where because it's in a bad place, if they can just push it up a little bit, then they'll be good. Now we're under this average on the 15, and we're under arguably like the biggest spot up here, which is this 20,000, the 20,847. So kind of is what it is. We do have the 30 minutes down here as well, which will be interesting to see what happens here. It's looking pretty ugly on the 30-minute, especially with this here. It'll be interesting to see how long it would take. I don't think it would look like that exactly, but we can kind of do this. It's not a great representation, but so we'll see how long it takes to hit this. We could have like a new low. So this is going to be a little bit sketchy to see what it can do here. But it's the same as always with these. Once they fall under it, that's when it inherent. Usually, on average, it's just a much worse time. Usually, it shows that there's a lot of bearishness on it. So we only have that, and the 5 looks bad. The 15 looks sketchy. It definitely looks like it has more pressure downwards on it. We're also under that big spot. And the 30-minute, we got this down here, but it's going to take a while. Now, if it hits the 30-minute and for a possible lower high here, sorry, a higher low here, then I think that it has a pretty decent chance. So like here, if it get hit here, that would be pretty nice. We have like a lower high there. It's overall, it's just really sketchy because depending how long it sits up here, it's going to be more pushing down on this when it does come down to hit that average. Anyway, we can go to like Doge, I guess. I don't know if there's really too much I want to go into. To be honest, with some of these other ones, kind of feeling lazy. Doge looked pretty nice, pretty straightforward. Um, really nice stuff here. Really nice stuff here at this 7.6 cents. Little sketchy. I guess we could talk about this though. It is quite a bit sketchier when we look at this. I'm not sure what this means specifically. Doge to Bitcoin could be Doge to Bitcoin could go down if Bitcoin shoots down. Doge to Bitcoin could also go down if Bitcoin shoots up. So I don't think this means anything specifically, but I do think it is somewhat worrisome. If we do start a week under this level, this 427, it's going to be probably like 430, 431 next week. So if it starts under 431, that could be a very big problem for it, and a lot of it could just be like pretty bad. I'm not saying it would like shoot down like something here, but a lot of the times, we're back under this. We're gonna have, I think we're gonna have some sort of pressure downwards, starting a little bit under it, or like starting under. So when I say this, what I mean is like this starts arguably on it. This is probably exactly on it, but if it starts like right under it, I usually think that's fairly bearish too. But if it starts, I think it's much worse to start like here as opposed to starting like just barely under it for some of these things, because I think it can kind of be interpreted in a bunch of different ways. Too far away, I generally believe it's going to come back up to test, but just a little bit under it, it's like there's some room to come up, but it's like there's a sell spot like right there. Um, so people on the fence might stay in if it's like right under it, or like by like one sat. Um, and that's just how I look at it. It's not like it's a science. It's just kind of how I look at it in a sense. Or it's not like it's like some 100% thing. Let's put it that way. Anyway, so we can see on the day time frame it's a little sketch too. So maybe we drop down to like 389, 388. That's always a possibility for Doge. The day starting under 388, I'd be a little bit worried about it. I mean, we can see here it's just really nice from Doge to Bitcoin. Not the best. Like here's a little bit sketchy. Little bit of issue. This is fine. This is a little bit upsetting. I don't remember what happened. Oh, this is August 17th. So, okay, I remember why this happened. But this looks fairly straightforward from a day time frame. I would, if I was in messing with some of this, maybe I would have gotten in some around here, and then I would have gotten out not too much longer, and then I would have gotten in right here if I was looking purely at Doge to Bitcoin, and nothing else at that time. This looked really strong, but the reason why this got screwed over more than anything, or it looks pretty strong, but the reason why this got screwed over is because August 17th. That's when the market like really came down hard. So we can go to, I think Ethereum's a nice follow up for this. I don't know if there's really too much to see on it. Similar stuff to Doge, except the one nice thing about Doge in the day time frame is like this came down and this came down. So we didn't really have that here. So there's no like hard confirmation, but it's still nice. It's relatively close enough. We're talking about 1320. We're talking about around 1%. It started above it. It's not that bad, especially when we're looking at ranges that are fairly large, like fairly large size ranges here. So that's something to note. I don't really think there's much to look and gain from that. This will be pretty interesting. It's been a while since I've taken a look at this. It's definitely been pretty interesting. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. I mean, looking at this, I'd still would think more on average. Anything could happen, but I'd still think more on average. We came up, we hit the top, we came to the bottom, we hit the bottom. We haven't hit the top yet. I'm not saying this kind of like some megaphone thing where we'll go boom, 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 like that, per se. But I could definitely see something like that. Definitely. I like this doesn't mean to like I don't know if there's necessarily too much to look into some of these Bitcoin values at times. I think it really just depends. Especially where Bitcoin is where it is, because Bitcoin could drop like 10% and still be reasonably fine, but they definitely could hit a lot of these cryptos pretty hard. Pretty much like returning to 18K is what I mean. We can see here we're just ranging. Looked okay for what it was. Yeah. There's nothing too special. This is kind of pretty erratic, in my opinion. I think it's really, really erratic. Anything else? I don't know if there's anything I'm super like interested in. Hmm. I guess Shiba. It's been a while since I've looked at this. Oof, it's been forever. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much to gain really by looking at where it is right now. I guess we could check the shorter time frames. Yeah, it's just kind of all over the place. I mean, I don't like where a lot of this stuff is personally. A lot of it comes from where Bitcoin is. I'm not a huge fan of where Bitcoin is. Um, it pushed up and we hit the top, so it's to me it's still kind of like one of those things. So, or it's and in another kind of way to look at it, I'm not a huge fan of alts right now or anything that's not Bitcoin because either Bitcoin pushes up and blasts up, blasts up so hard, and it kind of wrecks the Bitcoin value of all these other ones because everyone switches over to Bitcoin and it hits like a lot of stops for people that trade, between alts to Bitcoin and not just like alt to USDT or whatever pairs. Um, and so they get hit twice as hard. So like Bitcoin, I guess this is a kind of nice way to put it. Bitcoin comes down for consolidation like 7 to 14%, or it can break through this and possibly push up something like 25%. Either way, I'd rather not be in an alt for that if I didn't have to be. I like if it goes down 14%, alts are going to get hit super hard. And if it goes up 14%, or 25%, you're gonna be making so much less on that altcoin when Bitcoin goes up. So it just seems weird to be in the altcoin over Bitcoin. Like if I wanted exposure, I'd rather be in Bitcoin. If I wanted to avoid exposure, I'd rather be just out. I'd rather be out instead of in an alt, pretty much. I think that's kind of the simplest way to put it. So we'll see what happens with it. It kind of is what it is. It's not all over yet. By any stretch of the means, it definitely has a chance, but any pressure downwards, I think, is going to be pretty sketchy. So we'll see. Anyway, take care, guys. I'll maybe make another update later today or tomorrow, depending on what things look like. But anyway, take care, y'all.